Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're all well. Welcome to TalkCrypto. I'm Ben Parry, and thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm just going to quickly share with you my $1 a day challenge price and talk about property a little bit more in terms of Bitcoin and thinking about other asset classes like property and whether it's worth still thinking about investing in property and all the rest of it. It's very pertinent to me because that's a lot of where my background has come from in financial services. I was in the mortgage market, dealing with a lot of investors and investing myself. I was an investor since I was 18, buying my first property. I was very fortunate to get on the ladder at a young age. But it's really interesting. So I'll come on to that in a minute. Just quickly, for those of you who don't know, I'm doing a $1 a day challenge, if I get that out. And the idea for that is I'm trying to encourage everybody just to buy some Bitcoin, even if it's $1. Just anything is better than zero. And most people can afford $1 a day. And my hope and my prediction is in about 10 years' time, we'd like to see one Satoshi being $1. So we're going to see. I might be completely wrong. But it's a little way for me to document this sort of challenge. It's going to be interesting to look back in years to come to see how that was. So today I bought my $1 worth of Bitcoin, and I got 1,800 and I can't remember exactly 30 Sats. So it'll be interesting. Again, will 1,830 Sats turn into $1,830 in about 10 years' time? We'll have to wait and see. For those of you who are good at maths, want a little challenge, put in the comments what that price prediction would make Bitcoin. So if one Satoshi is $1, what would Bitcoin be? So hopefully that gets the brain ticking a little bit. For some of you, you'll obviously know what the answer is, but I'm not going to give that right now. So that's my little challenge. That's my little, hopefully, encouragement for you guys to start doing that, just start dipping your toe in, especially if you're coming into the space for the first time. Maybe you've seen a few videos in previous years, but you never actually did anything about it. I'm just trying to share my sort of journey, my insights, what I'm learning. I'm on that learning curve. I got into Bitcoin in 2020. I first heard about it in 2012, didn't do anything. 2017, heard about it again, didn't do anything. Very close though, very close. But it wasn't until 2020. So if I can hopefully encourage one person just to start thinking about investing for their future into Bitcoin, even small amounts like this $1 a day challenge. It was funny, I had a quick chat with one of my co-founders for a tech business. And I was just telling him about this $1 a day challenge. And he goes, "Oh, right, okay, I'm not going to do that." I say, "You realise it's for 10 years, don't you?" He was like, "Oh, yeah, let's do it." So that's great. I've converted one person, so that's very pleasing. And hopefully $1 a day is not going to break the bank for anybody, so that's important as well. Moving on to the topic I want to talk about. I touched on it on my last video, talking about property and when you start thinking about what to invest in and where to put your money, how potentially Bitcoin is going to start consuming a lot of money that would have otherwise flown into other asset classes like property, gold, stocks, shares, all that type of thing. Ultimately, I think we've all got to weigh up the risk factors. Before I'm going to share some returns which are quite phenomenal when we look at it in black and white, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But at the end of the day, whatever the returns are, historical returns, obviously that's historical. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Secondly, it might be good to diversify. Do you put all your eggs in one basket in the hope that that's going to change your life, or do you sort of spread it around? Traditionally in the financial services sector, where that's my background, people very much spread risk. It's all about your appetite to risk. And when you're investing in investments, it's very much about the IFAs are very much sort of focused on sort of putting you on that risk curve and then sort of allocating depending on your attitude to risk. So ultimately, you do need to have a sense of how risky you may deem one asset class over another. But at the end of the day, investing in anything, and indeed doing nothing is a risk. Certainly, just putting your money in a bank account, even if you can get 5%, you're effectively losing money. Inflation realistically is probably more like 10 or 15% a year. Certainly has been recently. So the reality is there is a risk in doing anything. The question is, what risk do you feel most comfortable with? Do you spread your risk into property, into crypto, into stocks, into share? There's all sorts of things you can do. And obviously none of this is actually financial advice. This is just some dude on the internet just sharing my thoughts and my opinions, and you can make of that of what you will. Now, property has always been, certainly in the UK, that great opportunity for people to better themselves. And if you look back, in the early 2000s up to 2008, 2009, people were making money hands over fist with property. Every man and his dog was a buy-to-let investor in the UK. And then obviously the big property market crash, economic crisis in 2008, 2009, and that sort of halted everything. The lending market got tighter, more regulation, less self-cert, all those types of things. But the property market bounced back, and sort of actually astounded me in terms of what was possible and what it did. I thought it would drop a lot more than it did, around about sort of 2009, 2010, etc. It didn't drop hugely, maybe 10, 15%. Again, you have to look at the charts yourself. But it wasn't what I thought it would be, considering the crisis that we were in. Of course, what happened was the money printer went burr, and governments printed their way out of economic chaos, basically. So where are we at now? So just to quickly share with you, I had a little look, because I knew I wanted to sort of explore more about property versus crypto versus Bitcoin particularly, and I thought, okay, this is something that is very pertinent to me. I'm very familiar with the property market. I'm a property investor myself, but equally I'm a massive advocate, and I'm converting more and more to a Bitcoin standard, I think. Now, and other cryptos, to be fair, and that's why this channel is called TalkCrypto. At the moment, I'm talking a lot about Bitcoin because ultimately it is, the daddy. It is the king of cryptocurrencies, and it will continue to be. Everything rises with Bitcoin, and everything falls with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin will be here when other projects won't be in the future. So always have that in the back of your mind. So just going back to, if we look at the growth potentially, I just had a look at some statistics. I think from 2005, I just looked on ONS, the average price in round figures of a property in the UK, and I appreciate properties can vary from, in different types of properties throughout the country, and indeed across the world, because obviously you might be watching this video in other parts. But in 2005, the average price was approximately £150,000 in the UK. In 2021, 16 years later, it was round about 250,000. So roughly in, 16 years? Is that right? I can't do my maths. 15, 20, 16 years, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. The increased by, I do know this calculation, 66%. So from 150 to 250, 66% increase over that time frame. That's fantastic. And obviously one of the great things with property is you're able to leverage. So that's the one thing that we don't see as obviously with Bitcoin. There is opportunities to borrow, on your crypto, and I'm not going to get into that. But there's a leveraging opportunity within property. So that's one of the pluses. And 66%, that's a fantastic return over that period. Now, but if we're looking at pure returns, and if we're looking at as an investment, do you choose A over B, property over Bitcoin? Well, I've just got something in front of me, so excuse me while I look away from you guys. Bitcoin has basically significantly outperformed every asset class over the entire period, other than 3 years. So over the last 10 years, Bitcoin has outperformed significantly every other asset class. we're talking about the S&P Aggregate Bond Index, Dow Jones Commodity Index, Dow Jones Emerging Markets, Total Return Index, US High Yield Corporate Bond Index, S&P 500 Total Return Index. So just to give you some figures, in 2013, BTC returned 5,516%. In 2014, it lost. It was down 58%. In 2015, the following year, it was up 37%. 2016, 119%. 2017, 1,300%. 2018, it was again the worst performing asset class, down 73%. But then the following year, 2019, up 92%. 2020, 302%. 2021, 58%. 2022, we know about that. I felt that, down 65%. That was a painful period. 2023, last year, 156%. It is absolutely outperforming every asset class exponentially. If we just look back on last year alone, this is 156% Bitcoin percentage increase, 156% for Bitcoin. The second best asset in 2023 was the S&P 500 Total Return Index at 25%. Bitcoin is just outperforming every other asset class exponentially. It's not even in the same park. Yes, there's those years, which are interestingly enough second year after the high, potentially. Second year after the halving cycles. Halving cycle 2012, 2 years later, 2014, big drop. Halving cycle 2016, 2 years later, 2018, big drop. Halving cycle 2020, 2022, big drop. So other than those big year annual drops, which are quite clearly so far, it doesn't say it's going to repeat, but things tend to rhyme. So far, it has been absolutely unbelievable. So we know, according to the halving cycles, when the likely highs and lows are potentially going to be, and obviously that fits into a broader economic cyclical. How should I best describe this? An economic cyclical pattern. Because if we think about it, a lot of elections are done in cycles, both in the US and the UK. Monetary policy tends to sort of match this because we're, in the UK and in the US, we're going to be coming into an election season soon. So interestingly enough, I saw a newspaper today when I was getting my groceries talking about, inflation is going to be coming down and interest rates are going to be dropping, and isn't that good news? It's if we just step away, there's a reason why things are going to be improving. It's because there's an election coming up, because people are going to want to try and sort of give you these freebies and sell you this positivity, but they manipulate the markets by money printing, stimulus, and all these things, which have certain effects. But the economy goes in these cycles, and a great channel that I encourage you to watch if you're not aware of it already is Real Vision. They talk about the macroeconomics in a far better way than I can. So I highly, highly encourage you to tune in and watch those videos and educate yourself about what's actually happening in the economy in the bigger perspective, not just within the UK, but they're looking at the whole global economies and how it's all very cyclical, and how Bitcoin for your cycles fits very nicely into these economic cycles that we see repeating and replaying regularly. So I guess ultimately it's quite obvious to me, Bitcoin outperforms every asset class, hand over fist, including property. What did we say? What was that? 15 years, 16, whatever it was, 66% return. Well, blimey. Last year, Bitcoin in 1 year, not 16 years, did 156% return. So I think we have to, as investors, start waking up to the reality, start realizing that maybe we need to step out of our comfort zone if all we've ever known is one particular investment type. or one particular asset type. Yeah, I get that. You feel comfortable with it, you understand the market. But rather than not doing anything and put your head in the sand, actually start researching yourself. Dip your toe into it. Like I talk about this $1 a day challenge. Dip your toe. Start feeling comfortable. And the more you learn and more you educate yourself, the more your eyes will open. And then really this is part of the reason why I'm doing this blog, this video. These are all sort of one take, no editing. I'm literally doing it on the fly, press record, uploading it, that's it. Because I haven't got time to mess around and faff and all the rest of it. So it's just me trying to share my journey, also for me to help express my thinking, which I'm sure will evolve over time, for me to keep learning. You might have some great points, and if you do put them in the comments, I'd love to hear what you've got to think. But it's, we have to challenge ourselves as investors. We have to challenge ourselves as people to go, okay, what I thought I knew, am I stubborn enough just to stick to my lane, or am I willing to open my eyes in terms of the opportunity and the reality? Because I think the danger is if you don't keep yourself alert in terms of what's happening, in terms of what's out there, you could be left behind in so many ways. So don't close off your mind just because something is new, or you're not quite sure about it. Take the time to do the research. Take the time to do some due diligence. Yes, I could be completely wrong, but actually, what's the percentage chance of that? And if I'm a little bit right, we just look at some of these returns on Bitcoin. A small allocation could actually make a fundamental difference to your lives. So that's really what I wanted to share about. I encourage you to do the $1 a day Bitcoin challenge. I encourage you, if you're a property investor, to start thinking about, Bitcoin and seeing it as a digital property, a new money. There's a whole world of Bitcoin that I'm not going to go into now in terms of what is Bitcoin. Robert Breedlove has a great channel which often talks about, well, actually that's the whole channel. It's about what is Bitcoin, and it will help you sort of dive into, Bitcoin is energy, Bitcoin is money, Bitcoin is property, Bitcoin is digital gold. It's a beast that is only getting started, and we are literally at the very, very early stages. So start educating yourself, start learning about it like I am, and hopefully this might help you and encourage you to do the same. Listen guys, if you're still here, really appreciate, hit that like, doesn't cost you anything, shows a bit of love and a bit of appreciation if I've offered anything at all. And subscribe and do all those great things. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you later. Take care.